Gescan that chi change the ev writing. The Xanthari hegemony had ruled their sector of the galaxy for 8,000 years. Their crystalline ships glided through the void with a grace that belied their destructive power. The species had evolved beyond traditional warfare centuries ago, choosing instead to subjugate new civilizations through technological superiority and calculated intimidation. They rarely needed to fire a shot. Commander Vexorn stood on the command deck of the Revelation, their most advanced reconnaissance vessel. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the primitive warship that had unexpectedly appeared at the edge of Xanthari space. The vessel was bulky, inelegant, and clearly built for function rather than form, a stark contrast to the Xanthari aesthetic of crystalline perfection. "Curious," Vexorn said, his voice a melodic hum. "They've achieved faster than light travel despite their obvious technological limitations." Science Officer Nerith stepped forward, her translucent skin shifting to a pale blue, the Xanthari expression of scientific interest. "We've been monitoring their communications. They call themselves humans, and their vessel the UES Defiant. Our initial analysis suggests they're carbon-based, originating from a planet they call Earth." "Have they detected us?" Vexorn asked. "Negative. Our cloaking technology exceeds their scanning capabilities by at least 3 generations." Vexorn's secondary arms moved in a gesture of authority. "Initiate a complete biomechanical scan. Let's see what we're dealing with." Nerith nodded, her slender fingers dancing across the luminescent control panel. "Initiating quantum resonance scan. Results will feed directly into the tactical database." The Revelation silently repositioned itself above the human vessel, activating scanning arrays that were invisible to human instruments. Tendrils of exotic energy reached out, penetrating the hull of the Defiant, mapping every centimeter of the ship and its occupants down to the molecular level. Captain Maya Chen felt a chill run down her spine as she stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant. Something wasn't right. 20 years of deep space exploration had honed her instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming at her. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, run another sweep of the sector," she ordered. "Full spectrum analysis." Rodriguez, a young officer with talent that exceeded his experience, nodded sharply. "Yes, Captain. Running full spectrum now." Chen turned to her executive officer, Commander Thomas Williams. "Tom, what do you make of this region?" The charts from the Arcturus mission showed this sector as uninhabited. Williams scratched his beard thoughtfully. "The Arcturus data is 5 years old. A lot can change in deep space during that time." He lowered his voice. "Are you sensing something, Maya?" Chen had served with Williams for over a decade, long enough that they could occasionally drop formalities in private conversation. "I can't explain it, Tom. It feels like we're being observed." "Sensors show all clear, Captain," Rodriguez reported, looking confused. "No anomalous readings whatsoever." Chen nodded, but her uneasiness remained. "Keep the alert status at yellow. And tell engineering I want a full diagnostic on the scanner array. Something's out there." Back on the Revelation, the Xanthari were processing the influx of data. Their advanced systems compiled terabytes of information about human physiology, technology, and the ship's systems. "Fascinating," Nerith whispered as the analysis appeared on the main display. "Their technology is primitive, yet innovative. They've solved engineering problems in ways we never considered." Vexorn studied the data with growing concern. "Their propulsion system uses controlled nuclear fusion. Inefficient compared to our methods, but remarkably ingenious given their technological constraints." "Commander," the tactical officer called out, his skin shifting to an alarming orange hue. "You need to see this analysis of their weapon systems." The commander moved to the tactical station, where a holographic display showed the Defiant's offensive capabilities. Primitive kinetic weapons, nuclear-tipped missiles, rudimentary energy weapons, nothing that could penetrate our defensive fields. "It's not the weapons themselves, Commander," the tactical officer explained. It's how they're implemented. Look at the redundancy in their systems. Multiple backup firing mechanisms. Manual overrides everywhere. Their entire ship is designed to keep fighting even after sustaining catastrophic damage. Vexorn's skin darkened. A species that expects to fight while dying. Concerning. There's more, Narith added, bringing up new data. Their computer systems are intentionally segregated. If one section fails, the others continue functioning independently. And here, she highlighted a section of the ship. They maintain an analog backup for critical systems. No digital component at all. Why would they design their vessels this way? Vexorn wondered aloud. Because they evolved expecting treachery, the tactical officer suggested. Their ship design indicates a species that has fought itself for millennia. Deep in the Defiance engineering section, Chief Engineer Dr. Sanjay Patel was conducting the diagnostic the captain had requested. A genius who had revolutionized fusion containment theory before joining the United Earth Fleet, Patel took pride in understanding every centimeter of his ship. "Anything unusual, Doctor?" asked Ensign Kira Yoshida, his most promising protege. "Sensors all read nominal," Patel replied, frowning at his tablet. "But there's a subtle power fluctuation in the quantum field detector, almost imperceptible." Yoshida looked confused. "The QFD isn't even part of the scanner array. It's an experimental system." "Exactly." Patel's eyes lit up with sudden realization. It's detecting something our standard sensors aren't designed to see. He tapped his comm unit. Patel to bridge. "Captain, I think we're being scanned by technology far beyond our current understanding." On the Revelation, the Xanthari scan was approaching completion. What had started as routine reconnaissance was becoming increasingly disturbing to the alien observers. "Commander, we're receiving bioscan results now," Narith reported. "Human physiology is unusual. They're surprisingly resilient for carbon-based life. Multiple redundant organs, a remarkable immune system that adapts to new pathogens, and their neural architecture." "What about it?" Vexorn asked. "It's chaotic, non-linear. Their thought patterns jump in ways our predictive algorithms can't follow." She paused, her skin shifting to a deep purple of concern. "And their historical database indicates they've survived multiple extinction-level events on their homeworld." The tactical officer interjected. "Commander, I'm detecting increased activity on the human vessel. They've adjusted their sensor arrays. They might suspect our presence." Vexorn's secondary arms twitched in surprise. "Impossible. Our cloaking technology." "They've reconfigured an experimental device," the tactical officer explained. "It wasn't designed as a sensor, but they're adapting it to function as one." "Improvisation," Vexorn said quietly. "A dangerous trait." On the Defiant, Captain Chen reviewed Patel's findings with growing concern. "So you're saying something is out there, scanning us with technology we can barely detect, let alone understand?" "Yes, Captain," Patel confirmed via the comm. "The quantum field detector was designed to study subspace phenomena, but it's picking up energy patterns that suggest directed scanning beams, very sophisticated ones." Chen turned to her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Aisha Jackson. "Options, Commander." Jackson, a veteran of the Mars conflict, didn't hesitate. "We could fire a widespread electromagnetic pulse. If something's out there using active sensors, an EMP might disrupt their scanning and announce our hostility to a technologically superior species." Williams countered. "What about the Odysseus Protocol?" Rodriguez suggested quietly. The bridge fell silent. The Odysseus Protocol was a last resort measure developed after the disastrous first contact with the Proxima Centauri colonists. It involved broadcasting a specific sequence of mathematical formulas and Earth's astronomical coordinates, essentially saying, "We know you're there, we know who we are, and we know you know where to find us." Chen nodded slowly. "Prepare the Odysseus broadcast, but don't transmit yet." She tapped her comm. "Dr. Patel, can you use the QFD to give us a location on whatever's scanning us?" "Already working on it, Captain," came the reply. "I've cross-referenced the energy fluctuations with stellar background radiation. If my calculations are correct, the source is approximately 340 kilometers off our port bow." Chen stared at the seemingly empty space on the view screen. "Target those coordinates. Minimal power to avoid looking aggressive. Prepare to transmit Odysseus protocol on my mark." On the revelation, alarm sirens suddenly blared. "The humans have adjusted their targeting systems," the tactical officer reported, skin now a bright red of alarm. "They're aimed directly at our position." "Impossible," Vexorn hissed. "They can't have detected us through our cloaking field." "Yet they have," Nerith said quietly. "They've improvised a detection method we didn't anticipate." "Commander," the communications officer interrupted. "They're preparing to transmit a signal." Before anyone could respond, the communications officer spoke up. "Commander, the human ship is transmitting the Odysseus protocol, as they call it. And they've added something else. A message in simplified mathematical terms that translates roughly to, 'We see you. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary.'" Vexorn stared at the bulky, inelegant human warship on the screen. Inside that primitive vessel was a species unlike any the Xanthari had ever encountered, resourceful, adaptable, and potentially more dangerous than their technology suggested. "Send a response," he decided. "Match their mathematical format. Tell them we also desire peaceful contact." He turned to Nerith. "And prepare a complete report for the Hegemony Council. They need to understand what we've discovered here." "Which is what, exactly?" Nerith asked. Vexorn's 4 eyes focused on the Defiant, a species that should, by all logic, still be confined to their home planet. Yet here they are, crossing the void in ships built to survive against all odds. A species that expects the worst, prepares for it, and somehow still hopes for the best. He paused. "The Xanthari rule through technological superiority, Nerith. But these humans, they thrive on overcoming disadvantages. That makes them unpredictable. And in the game of galactic dominance, unpredictability is a weapon more dangerous than any we possess." As the revelation decloaked, revealing its crystalline beauty to the humans for the first time, Vexorn couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change the course of galactic history. The scan that was meant to assess a primitive species had instead revealed a potential equal, or perhaps something even more concerning. A potential successor. The truth that the Galactic, the crystalline form of the Xanthari vessel, shimmered against the backdrop of distant stars, its elegant curves and translucent surfaces catching the light of a nearby sun. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the Defiant, her expression carefully neutral despite the rapid beating of her heart. First contact. After centuries of speculation, humanity was no longer alone in the universe. "Beautiful," Commander Williams murmured beside her, "like a cathedral made of light. And probably capable of reducing us to atoms," Chen replied quietly. "Let's not forget that they were scanning us without permission." The bridge was tense with anticipation as Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "Captain, we're receiving a transmission." Mathematical response confirming peaceful intentions, followed by language samples. "I think they're trying to establish communication protocols." Chen nodded. "Send our linguistic database as requested by first contact procedures. And maintain yellow alert status." Beautiful doesn't always mean friendly. Aboard the Revelation, Commander Vexorn was immersed in the flood of information the humans had transmitted. Their language database was comprehensive, allowing the Xanthari translation systems to quickly establish basic communication parameters. "Remarkable cooperation," Nerith observed. "Most species react with fear or aggression when discovered by a technologically superior civilization. Don't mistake pragmatism for trust," Vexorn cautioned. "Their tactical systems remain active. They're ready to fight if necessary." He gestured with his secondary arms. "Continue analyzing their historical database. I want to understand their decision-making processes before we establish direct communication. The tactical officer approached, his skin a troubled amber color. Commander, I've completed my analysis of their weapons capabilities in context with their historical tactics. There's something unusual. Explain, Vexorn directed. Their ship's design incorporates technological solutions from their historical conflicts. This section here, he indicated a reinforced area of the Defiance hull, utilizes principles from something called battleship armor from a planetary war centuries ago. And their point defense systems are based on anti-missile technology from another conflict generations later. They build on their past, Nerith said. Many species do. It's more than that. The tactical officer insisted. They don't just improve technologies. They combine disparate concepts in unpredictable ways. Their shipboard AI has security protocols derived from financial institutions. Their life support redundancies use principles from ancient submarine warfare. Vexorn considered this innovation through conceptual hybridization. Concerning, but not unprecedented. There's more, the tactical officer continued. According to their database, this ship, the Defiant, isn't even their most advanced vessel. It's a long-range explorer built for extended missions with minimal support. Their actual warships are significantly more formidable. There's more, the tactical officer continued. According to their database, this ship, the Defiant, isn't even their most advanced vessel. It's a long-range explorer built for extended missions with minimal support. Their actual warships are significantly more formidable. Before Vexorn could respond, Nerith interrupted, her skin pulsing with excitement. Commander, I found something remarkable in their psychological profiles. The humans operate under a concept they call distributed authority. Their command structure is hierarchical, but decision-making ability extends throughout the chain of command. All species delegate authority to some degree, Vexorn noted. Not like this, Nerith insisted. In crisis situations, their protocols explicitly authorize lower-ranking individuals to act independently if communication with higher authority is compromised. Even their lowest technicians are trained to make tactical decisions if necessary. The commander's 4 eyes narrowed. A ship where every crew member is potentially a decision-maker, chaotic and inefficient, but nearly impossible to decapitate, the tactical officer pointed out. Remove their leadership, and they don't collapse. They adapt. On the Defiant, Dr. Patel was working furiously in engineering, analyzing the data they'd gathered about the alien vessel. Their hull appears to be some kind of crystalline metamaterial, he explained to Captain Chen via comm. It's simultaneously transparent and stronger than our most advanced alloys. And Captain, they're using an energy system unlike anything in our theoretical models. No radiation signature we recognize. Threat assessment? Chen asked directly. Patel hesitated. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so the moment they detected us. Their technology is, well, it's centuries beyond ours, possibly more. Chen processed this information with the calm detachment that had defined her career. So we're outmatched technologically. That's not a new position for humanity, Dr. Patel. History is written by those who adapt, not those with the initial advantage. What's our play, Captain? Williams asked quietly. Chen's expression hardened with resolve. The same one that's kept humanity alive through every crisis. We learn, we adapt, and we refuse to be intimidated. She turned to Rodriguez. Open a direct communication channel. It's time we spoke face to face. Commander Vexorn was still reviewing the alarming findings when the communications officer announced, the human vessel is requesting direct visual communication. Accept, Vexorn ordered. Let's see what they have to say. The main display shifted to show the bridge of the Defiant. At its center stood Captain Chen, her posture straight and confident, despite facing a vastly superior force. This is Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth ship Defiant. We represent humanity and the United Earth government. We come with peaceful intentions but will defend ourselves if threatened. Vexorn stepped forward, allowing the humans to see his alien form clearly. 4 eyes set in a smooth, angular face, translucent skin revealing hints of the complex circulatory system beneath, 4 arms moving in precise coordination. I am Commander Vexorn of the Xanthari Hegemony Vessel Revelation. We acknowledge your peaceful intentions and reciprocate them. His melodic voice had been perfectly adjusted by the translation system to sound natural to human ears. However, I must inquire about your presence at the edge of Xanthari space. Your vessel appears to be armed for conflict. Chen's expression didn't change. The Defiant is an exploration vessel. Commander, our weapons are defensive. As for our location, we didn't know this region was claimed by any civilization. Our scans showed no artificial structures or communication signals. Because we choose not to be obvious, Vexorn replied. The hegemony has ruled this sector for 8,000 years. We observe new species carefully before making contact. By scanning their ships without permission, Chen asked, a hint of steel entering her voice. By assessing potential threats, Vexorn countered, a practice your own species employs, according to your historical database. Chen raised an eyebrow. You've been studying us. We have. Your species presents unique characteristics. As does yours, Chen replied. Perhaps we could benefit from a more formal exchange of information, with mutual consent this time. What followed was unprecedented in Xanthari history. Rather than the usual protocol of intimidation followed by subjugation, Vexorn agreed to a mutual exchange. The humans would be permitted to send a delegation to the Revelation, while a Xanthari team would board the Defiant. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Commander Williams approached Captain Chen in the shuttle bay. "Are you sure about this, Maya?" he asked. "We're walking into an unknown situation with a technologically superior species." Chen checked the small diplomatic kit she would carry. "The risk is necessary, Tom. We need to understand them as much as they need to understand us." She looked up at her friend and executive officer. "Besides, in case things go sideways, I'm leaving the ship in capable hands." Williams nodded grimly. "Contingency protocols are active. If you don't return on schedule, the Defiant will fight its way out and take what we've learned back to Earth," Chen finished. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that." The human shuttle docked with the Revelation in a display of technological wonder. The Xanthari ship's docking mechanisms adapted in real time to the unfamiliar configuration of the human craft, creating a perfect seal without any prior design compatibility. Captain Chen, along with Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Commander Jackson, stepped through the airlock into an environment unlike anything they had ever experienced. The interior of the Xanthari vessel seemed to blend technology with art, crystalline corridors that somehow felt both solid and fluid, lighting that emanated from the structure itself, and atmospheric conditions precisely calibrated to human comfort. "Welcome aboard the Revelation," Nerith greeted them, her skin shifting to a welcoming turquoise. "I am Science Officer Nerith. Commander Vexorn awaits you in our central chamber." As they walked through the ship, Dr. Patel couldn't contain his scientific curiosity. "Your vessel's construction, it's extraordinary. Is the crystalline material grown or manufactured?" "Both," Nerith replied. "We cultivate the base structure, then guide its development through quantum resonance fields. The ship is, in many ways, alive, though not conscious in the way you might understand." They entered a vast chamber where Commander Vexorn waited. The room featured a panoramic view of space and complex holographic displays showing both their vessels. "Captain Chen," Vexorn acknowledged, "your willingness to board our vessel shows considerable courage. Many species would fear such vulnerability." "Fear is a poor advisor in first contact situations, Commander," Chen replied. "Curiosity serves us better." Vexorn's upper arms moved in what Chen interpreted as approval, a philosophy the Xanthari once shared long ago. "Now we have specific questions about humanity that our scans couldn't answer." "As do we about the Xanthari," Chen countered. Perhaps we could establish an exchange protocol. Question for question. Vexorn paused, seemingly surprised by the suggestion of equality. After a moment he nodded. Acceptable. I will begin. Our scan of your vessel revealed numerous design elements focused on survival against overwhelming odds. Does humanity expect to face superior adversaries? Chen considered her response carefully. Humanity has learned through bitter experience to prepare for worst-case scenarios. Our history taught us that assumption of superiority often precedes extinction. An unusual perspective for a spacefaring species, Vexorn noted. Most achieve unity before reaching the stars. We achieved sufficient unity, Chen replied. But we brought our history with us. Now my question. The Xanthari hegemony has ruled this sector for 8,000 years, you said. How many other species fall under your protection? The slight emphasis on protection wasn't lost on Vexorn. 47 species acknowledge Xanthari authority. They benefit from our technological guidance and defense. And their autonomy? Chen pressed. That would be a second question, Captain. Vexorn noted smoothly. My turn. Your historical database indicates hundreds of distinct nations existed on your homeworld. Yet you present yourselves as united. How did humanity resolve its divisions? Meanwhile, aboard the Defiant, a Xanthari delegation led by the tactical officer was touring the human vessel. Commander Williams watched carefully as the aliens examined the ship's systems with obvious curiosity. Your propulsion technology is remarkably efficient given its limitations, the tactical officer observed, studying the engine room. And these manual overrides. He gestured to the physical controls that backed up digital systems. They seem redundant. Redundancy keeps us alive, Chief Petty Officer Garcia explained. Space is unforgiving. So are certain adversaries. The tactical officer's skin shifted to a questioning blue. You've encountered hostile species before. Williams interjected smoothly. We've encountered hostile environments that required adaptation. Humanity prepares for possibilities, not just probabilities. As they continued the tour, the tactical officer grew increasingly interested in the crew rather than the technology. He observed humans of different ethnicities working together seamlessly, noted the casual way junior officers made suggestions to seniors, and the constant flow of information through the ship's communication systems. Your command structure is more fluid than ours, he finally commented. Flexible, not fluid, Williams corrected. Captain Chen commands absolute loyalty, but she expects every crew member to think independently. It's how we solve problems. By committee? The tactical officer asked, skepticism evident in his tone. By leveraging our greatest strength, Williams replied. Diversity of thought. Back on the Revelation, the exchange had progressed to more complex topics. Dr. Patel was deep in discussion with Nereth about comparative energy systems, while Lieutenant Commander Jackson engaged the Xanthari security team in a surprisingly candid discussion of tactical doctrines. Commander Vexorn and Captain Chen had moved to a private conference area, where their conversation had taken a more philosophical turn. You must understand our position, Captain, Vexorn was saying. The hegemony maintains order through technological superiority. When we encounter a new species, we evaluate whether they will enhance galactic stability or threaten it. And which category have you placed humanity in? Chen asked directly. Vexorn's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. That is still being determined. Your technology poses no immediate threat to us, but your approach to problem solving, your adaptability, your unpredictability. These qualities concern us. Chen leaned forward. Because you can't control what you can't predict. Precisely, Vexorn admitted. For 8,000 years, the Xanthari have maintained peace through superior capability and predictive accuracy. We understand how species think, how they react, what they value. And humans don't fit your models, Chen concluded. No. Your historical database shows a species that should have destroyed itself many times over. Nuclear weapons, climate catastrophes, pandemics. Yet each time, when extinction seemed inevitable, humanity found a way forward. "We call it survival instinct," Chen said simply. "We call it evolutionary aberration," Vexorn countered. "Species follow predictable patterns, Captain. They evolve, they advance, they optimize for efficiency. But humans," he paused, searching for the right words. "Humans optimize for resilience instead. You build redundancies where others would streamline. You prepare for disasters that have minimal probability. You maintain primitive capabilities alongside advanced ones. Is that why you fear us?" Chen asked quietly. "Because we don't follow your rules of development." "Fear is perhaps too strong," Vexorn responded. "Concern would be more accurate." Chen studied the alien commander, recognizing the diplomatic evasion for what it was. "Let me be direct, Commander. The scan you performed on the Defiant revealed our technological capabilities, our biological makeup, and our historical context. But I suspect what truly disturbed you wasn't what we can do, it's what we might become." Vexorn went very still, all four eyes fixed on Chen. "Explain." "The Xanthari have ruled through technological superiority for millennia. You've perfected your development path, your society, your approach to galactic politics. But humans, we're messy, adaptive, and relentlessly innovative. We don't follow a single path of advancement. We explore all possibilities simultaneously. An inefficient approach," Vexorn noted, "but an effective one for solving novel problems," Chen countered. "Which is why your tactical officer is so interested in our command structure, and why your science officer is fascinated by our patchwork approach to technology. We don't do things the right way. We try every way until something works." Vexorn was silent for a long moment. "You are more perceptive than anticipated, Captain. Yes, what concerns the hegemony is not what humanity is today, but what you might become in a century, or 5, or 20. And what does that mean for our future relations?" Chen asked, cutting to the heart of the matter. "That," Vexorn said, "will depend on what else we discover about your species." The moment of crisis came unexpectedly. As Dr. Patel was examining the Xanthari power distribution node with Nerith's permission, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the revelation. Emergency containment fields activated, trapping the human delegation in place. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, finding herself unable to move beyond a small area around her chair. Vexorn was already accessing command systems through a holographic interface. "A security protocol has activated. It seems our systems detected an unauthorized access attempt originating from your vessel." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. My crew would never." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Vexorn interrupted, displaying a data stream showing communication between the Defiant and Revelation's computer systems. "Your people are attempting to penetrate our security barriers." Chen studied the display, then shook her head firmly. "That's not an attack, Commander. That's a diagnostic scan, standard procedure when encountering unknown technology. It's passive, not invasive." "Our systems disagree," Vexorn said coldly. "This could be interpreted as an act of aggression." Chen met his gaze steadily. "Or it could be a misunderstanding between different technological approaches. Before you take action you might regret. I suggest you consult with your science officer." Vexorn hesitated, then called Nerith over. The science officer studied the data stream carefully. "The captain may be correct, Commander," she finally said. "The pattern doesn't match known infiltration protocols. It appears to be gathering environmental data, not attempting system access." "See for yourself," Chen suggested. "Contact my ship. I guarantee Commander Williams can explain exactly what's happening." After a tense communication with the Defiant, it became clear that the human ship's AI had automatically initiated a standard environmental assessment protocol, something done routinely when encountering new phenomena. The AI hadn't recognized the Xanthari systems as sentient technology and had treated them as environmental conditions to be analyzed. "An unfortunate misunderstanding," Vexorn acknowledged, deactivating the containment fields. Though it highlights the unpredictability factor we discussed, it highlights something more important, Chen countered. How quickly both sides moved to resolve the situation peacefully rather than escalate. A valid observation, Vexorn conceded. Perhaps there is hope for productive relations between our species after all. As the human delegation prepared to return to the Defiant, Vexorn took Captain Chen aside for one final conversation. There is something I must know, Captain. Something our scans couldn't reveal. Ask, Chen said simply. We've detected 47 distinct species worth monitoring in this sector of the galaxy. Of those, 12 achieved spaceflight. Of those 12, only the Z